Hello everyone. Thank you for joining in this very good day. Yeah. So since everyone is most of us already here, so let's just start our discussion. So yeah, today we have these great speakers that are going to chat with us about the project. Yeah, there is Taiwoon from Kohler, Dono from Somia, Uka from
Hello.
Somia, and me. I'm the moderator for this webinar. And now I will let them introduce themselves and their company, where they are from. So Taiwoon.
Hi. Great, thanks, Nathan. So I'm Taiwoon. I'm from Kohler Design, and just a little bit about Kohler. We are all about gracious living, and we do a lot of toilet products, obviously. But what we want to try to do is to also do a lot of this innovation that people will love. And how do we do that? Is we are actually fueled by a lot of insights and research, and we also engage also our global network of designers around the world. The next slide. Yeah, so when I talk about the global design network for Kohler, we have a few design studios all around. Obviously, our headquarters is in Kohler, Wisconsin, and we have a few big studios. One of them in Shanghai, the other one in India, and then a small group in Kohler, London, and Paris. And then for myself, I am located in Singapore. Kohler Singapore, and I take care of the Asia Pacific regions, and I'm trying to bring all these insights and nuances of these areas to share with the rest of the global design network. And through all this sharing, we are able to kind of think global, but also act local. And in a different way, we are able to also influence design to try to impact to a bigger group of people. And this project that we are talking about, the Muslim ablution or istinja urinal, is an example of such. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taiwoon. So yeah, now let's let the Somia team to introduce themselves.
Okay. Hi everyone. So I'm Dono. In here we have Nathan and Uka also from Somia. So Somia is an experienced design consultancy. We are based in Indonesia and Singapore. What we do is we help companies to understand more about their customers and also their business, to get insights and then transform those into a product and service innovation. So this is the thing that what we did with Kohler. So yeah, just a glimpse of our services. There are 4 main services. We do research and strategy. Companies can try understand more about the business, about the products, how the customers will react, how is their experience with the products. And we do interaction and service design as well. We do user testing and expert evaluation, and we do training and coaching.
Yeah, and actually this project is, for me personally, is like really one of the most meaningful project that I've ever done. And it's been really, I'm really honored to be involved in this project and to come up with a different, hopefully a better solution for Alphamusin.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, this is one of the most interesting project that I did, both the process and the output as well. And yeah, so if you participants have any questions or you want to interact with us, you can ask us in here. bit.ly ask Kohler Somia. Just type it down and you can ask the question there. It's in Slido, and yeah, we'll put the link on the bottom left of the slides, so you can always ask us whenever you want to, but we will answer it later on during the Q&A session. So yeah, today we are going to share our story and lessons through the 3 years journey together. So yeah, it's a quite wild journey. You can graduate high school while doing it. Yeah, so maybe and yeah, this is not just an effort for one company or just 2 companies, but it's even a collaboration broader than that. Maybe Taiwoon can tell us more about this collaboration.
Yeah, I think one to support what just Somia team actually mentioned, I think the very success of this whole approach was a very collaborative effort across numerous parties. We had worked a lot on the insights and user testing with Somia team. And then from a product design and development, I actually work a lot with these two really outstanding design studios located in Singapore. One of them is Next of Kin, led by Rodney, Thomas, Jackster, and Hao Jie. And then the other one is also a really powerhouse called Trigger Design, led by Wylin and Brandon. They come in different time to kind of iterate and do the design and development. Lastly, of course, I need to give a big shout out to my internal Kohler team, my boss, Loon, giving me a lot of support and a lot of faith in what we do, because half the time, I think half the 3 years, I was really not very sure what we're gonna do. But we say, you know what, we don't know what we don't know. We're gonna just be very honest about it. We're gonna address it head on. And we got along two really outstanding team members, Yao Hui, the engineering manager, and then the PM called Ma Jie, who came in also to kind of sort out all the logistics, which, as you know, designers are not really good at.
Okay, thank you for our introduction. So yeah, maybe Taiwoon, please tell us the story about the 3 years. How did this start? And...
Right. So very quickly, I think I like I mentioned to you, I work in Kohler. I'm the Asia Pacific design manager, and I look at a lot of insights and cultural. And I really like culture a lot. So I always ask a lot of things about why things are this and why things are not. So one fine day 3 years ago, I received a very cryptic message from my boss, and he just has this one-liner: go find out about Muslim. And when I hear that, I'm like, what was it? So the first thing I do, I think with everybody right now, I call it Google is my best friend. And basically I Google it. So when I start Googling Muslim rituals, I realized that, wow, there's a lot of things that's happening in this Muslim world. So one of them actually is a subset of the faith, which is the Muslim evolution. So I noticed a lot of talk about that. So it piqued my interest. So when sometimes sorry, you say?
No, keep going.
Please continue.
Yeah. Oh, so one of the things is that when you're being asked about something, a very cryptic question, you start to understand why is it so. So I started to develop a pitch about the Muslim rituals or Muslim projects. So the next slide, please. And one of the things that really struck me after Googling and learning is this, if there's something to take away from this talk, this is something you need to know. By 2050, every 3 person, 1 person will be a Muslim. They are actually one of the biggest, fastest growing faith and by people in the global population as well. So this is a research that I actually found in Google from the Pew Foundation. And it actually gave me a very big shock. It's like, wow, that's a lot of people, And what are we doing it for? What are things that we are doing it for them? Just now, like I was alluding to you, when you do the Muslim, when you're when you practice the Islam faith, there are things that you need to do. And as we start looking at again, by 2050, every 3 person will be a Muslim. I also look at my realm of the world in Asia Pacific. If you look at the map, Indonesia, it's a predominantly Muslim country. So 87% of them are Muslim, and it basically translates to a very, very big number as well. So this few deck that I just shared with you was something that we actually saw or communicated upwards to our management. So when we start talking about this, the business leadership actually were like, wow, that's a lot of people, what are we doing differently or better for them? So through that, I got a fast pass or approval to actually investigate in this. So again, I live in Singapore and I thought I know a lot about, the Muslim culture. I'm sad to say I don't really know that much, and I decided to do the smart thing. I started to make a call. I made a call to Somia, and you want to go to the next page? Oh, I'm sorry. So basically, yeah, so on the next page, as we start talking about the Islam faith, Nathan, can you move to the next page? So the thing about, as we start Googling and learning about the faith, the key tenets were this, cleanliness is part of Iman. When I start reading this and learning about this, it is very interesting because it's part of the hygiene practices as well. So Uka, you want to share something about this?
Yeah, I think it's from us, right? Me and Dono, maybe as a Muslim perspective, we kind of like take things for granted. We already used to whatever currently done, like in public spaces, even in our home, even in our offices, when we do ablutions or even when we do istinja. Since it's been around since we are born, right? The condition is kind of like the same. For me personally, when I started this project, it's like, oh, it's a norm already. Like what we have right now is a norm already. Why need to innovate, right? Because there's not something different, right? Because I already saw this since I was born. It's okay. I already take it as a normal with the current condition. But when Taiwoon approached us and actually talk with Somia, and then it made me realize, oh man, it's actually really different from your perspective as people from outside Indonesia or even not a Muslim, right? Outside, so it's really different point of view. So it's really makes me personally questions, hey, what actually can we make the activities better, the experience better? It's really like a wake up call for me personally. Right. Like, yeah.
So as we go into the next page, I think when we were talking about learning about the ablution, we realized that there were subsets of this. We have the full wudu, where beyond the cleaning itself, there was also the spiritual cleaning that was required before you have a prayer. And then the other thing that I kind of realized as I was going into this research is the whole concept about istinja, and that's to some of you might be very, very common. But if you are not in Indonesia and you are based in maybe China or US or even Singapore, and you'll be very surprised. So I actually demonstrated the whole wudu and istinja to the leadership, and I got the biggest standing ovation and laughter about this. And what it actually tells me is that there's a lot of unawareness of this topic. So this is not what I asked. This is actually a faith that is, this is a ritual and practice that's been done since the 7th century. So basically, istinja is the cleaning of the private parts, and it's a requirement by the Muslim faith to do so. So imagine if you go and do your pee, you need to kind of wash your privates. And I was struggling to kind of understand that. I'm like, are you really sure? And then as we started going into the Indonesia space, I actually took the time to visit all the public toilets. And to my biggest surprise, I saw that it's really the case, and it's all been done in the 7th century. And when I say 7th century, that was very shocking because how it's been done has been relatively unchanged for such a long time. So when I look at it and I started to talk to the team Somia, I remember the very big silence when I was like, being a smarty pants, you Google, everybody Googles time, right? You Google and you share. And I was like talking like, this is the Muslim ritual, blah, blah, blah. You got to watch this. And dead silence. And like what Uka was just now articulating, you're like, yes, I hear you, but
what to do next?
Yeah, it is what it is. And I'm like, no, we got to do something, right? We got to do something. So the next page, please.
Yeah, this is a quite weird request that we get like from our client. So we the start when we receive this project, we don't know like what to do.
But what we align is one thing. We really don't know what to do. So what we started to do is like, you know what, let's find out. So I have my Google research, and I pass the baton to the team Somia and say, guys, I need you to validate what I just learned from the Google research. Help me so that we can actually try to make sure that there's a real problem to be addressed. And we take it a step at a time, because at that point in time, we're like, so what do we do? So that was that very, very strange feeling, like something's up, but what is it?
Yeah. Just want to add to what Taiwoon said. So since this is quite new for us, and then we kind of clueless, okay, what should we do next? So I think this was the first time that Somia tried to asking to people through like social media, and then try to ask, hey, what are your experience in using toilets, or you do wudu before praying in your house, in malls? And then we get a lot of these feedbacks, right? And some of these feedbacks we were shocked, like, wow, actually they are experience that needs to be, improved. For example, on the we also conduct photo ethnography, taking pictures of how people conduct wudu in malls, in mosque. And then if you go to the next slide, Nathan, one thing that we observe is this, the urinal thing. As you see, there is some like a spout that will, that will through water to wash your private parts. It's ugly, right? It seems it's unhygienic, and then it's rusty. So it's kind of against the values of Muslim that holds in the first place, which is the cleanliness, right? We need cleanliness to clean ourselves, because we need to be clean to do the praying.
Yeah, and a lot of times, right, the facilities, if it's not well maintained, right, even sometimes the spout is hidden, turn back, and then you need to like reach to the urinal, like where is actually the spout, like, and then you accidentally touch the urinal, and then, oh man, I need to wash my hands, otherwise it's najis, like. So it's really, when you think about it, it's really unpleasant experience, right? But since we have been doing it for so long, and we take it as a normal, like, initially, but then when we hear a lot of people coming to us, and then it made us realize, oh yeah, this is actually a real issues that needs to be solved. We need to make it better. How can we make it better?
And this was a picture that we along the process we took, and it suddenly dawned on to me, why people do what they do. So let me explain the picture. On the left is a Soekarno-Hatta airport, beautiful airport. Everything is really nice, and I see this gentleman doing this. And before I did this project, when I look at this picture, my first thought is that, you know what? People are so rude, it's so impolite. Why do you want to wash your feet on the pole, And when I start learning about this and doing this project, I realized that, holy crap, they were trying to just do certain ablution, washing their feet, because that's part of the wudu process. And then on the other side, on the right, it's a developer space where you notice in the white shaded corner, you see a trout, like a square trout, and you see this really ugly broom that's being stuck on the wall. And if you look closely enough, you see a very, very small spout there. And as we're talking to people, we realize that, you know what they use it for? They use it for two things. One, to wash and wipe the whole office space, using the pail and the broom and the mop. And the other one is that it also serves as the whole washing of legs and ablution as well. So me being an outsider, when I look at that and we took pictures, I felt very, very puzzled. Indonesia has a very big number of Muslim. With such a big number of Muslim, I would have thought that there will be more consideration But strangely, there was really a lack of consideration for that. And there lies the paradox, like what Uka, Dono, Nathan shared. When you live in a situation where it's been done like that for hundreds of years, you assume that that's the best way. And me coming from a different space, we're sharing this with them, and you see this like, oh no, yeah, and I thought this was a big trigger for us to kind of take this further.
Yeah, and we remember during the story, we found out there are many like workarounds, like people bring water bottles to clean their private parts, and we also in shopping malls, people actually wash their feet on the wash machine, and we think like, if there is an active workaround, like people are trying to do their best to do something, there is a problem waiting to be solved. But what I remember from this project is like, if there's a problem, is it really need to be solved? Like Uka and Dono said, like people have done it like thousands of years and they are not complaining and they are actually getting used to it. So how do you know that this is actually a problem that needs to be solved?
And this is actually from a customer's perspective. When I say customer, from Kohler perspective, we were trying to investigate if there's a real business opportunity. So I represent the company, and the business leaders like, yes, I hear you, but this is happening for so long. Are you sure? Are you really sure? So I've been asked a lot, and I apply this pressure to Somia, like, are you really sure? Because I'm also not very sure. And to our biggest surprise, Somia was like, I'm not sure too. I'm like, let's try find out.
So yeah, this is the story how we find out. So maybe Dono, tell the story.
Yeah. So what we do is we try to get insights from different people to actually know whether what we propose or what we have in mind is actually a valid reason to be improved, right? So we talk to users and then architect developers and then Muslim experts. Users, of course, we need to learn about their current experience, right? In doing wudu, in doing istinja, what are the pain points? Like I remember they shared some stories like, oh yeah, when I go to the mall with the sensor urinals, that when I go to in front of the urinal, the sensor was activated, the flush working. And then when I want to wash my private part, the sensor is not working. Like I try to like resetting sensors, it's not working. So what did I do? The user said that I have to move to the adjacent urinal and then get back to the first urinal, so that it's kind of resetting the sensors, right? And then the sensor will activate it again. So this is clearly a pain point. So that is just one example. But also we are talking to architect and developers because we need to know their point of view of, if we are about to give a better experience in these urinals, how is the installation, how is the space, how is the layout? We need to factor in those considerations. And last but not least, we talk with the Muslim experts, because why? We think that this is, well, a sensitive issue, right? This is an issue that have values of Muslim being clean, and then we want to make sure that what we propose, what we're trying to investigate here is not clashing with the values of the Muslims, right?
And
so
it's
we
respectful to the faith as well. I think one of the most important thing is that, part of what we want to do is to provide a solution, not a problem. And we want to make it gracious, but because it's a faith thing, what is most important is that we are respectful and considerate, and we need to make sure that the leaders of the faith are in for this research so that they can help guide us and lead us to be doing it correctly to the faith.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We remember that we are talking to them like time to time, and we keep inviting them back to the research. So yeah, so we are trying to get like their involvement, not just one time, but yeah, we'll do it forward. So yeah, they can be a part of our journey. Maybe Uka want to tell a bit story, or Taiwoon.
Yeah, I think when we involve the users and architects, right? So we want to it's not a one time off thing, right? So we want to them part of the journey, and when we ask them, like, hey, do you want to be involved in our research and involved from time to time? And most of them actually, yeah, please contact me whenever you have an update. And because for them it's really a key part of their life, right? Key part of our life. It's a daily needs, a daily activities where what you do, like you pray 5 times a day, right? And then you go to the toilets more than 5 times a day, like, and the implication is so big. So they acknowledge that this is part of my problem. So they are really when we invite them again to involve to our research, they are really willing to be up, because they know this it's a really important matters for them as well.
So yeah, because of Uka story, I remember a promise that we actually haven't do. Like they tell us if the product is already ready, we will tell them back. But yeah, so that's something that we need to do later. So yeah, yeah, we did not only one round of research, but we keep doing it. Yeah, we do it like 5 times. So it's 5 times of research through 3 years. So why should we do it? Why shouldn't we just do one research and get it done with? Maybe now we can tell the story. So please.
Okay, so I think one of the most interesting thing about this is that because this is like nothing has been done in the world, so there's nothing to follow, and in this perspective, we kind of struggled with this and say, you know what, if we don't know what we don't know, and that's totally new, how can we kind of innovate? And we felt that the best way forward is that first we should draw something out and then quickly throw it to the users, and then kind of co-design with them, and using what they have done right now to kind of guide us forward. So the approach is again the collaborative, iterative approach, so that we don't kind of go totally off tangent, and in design, we can design many cool stuff, but then this is not your typical product design. So the approach that we try to do is a low fidelity sketches, engage them early. We put some sketches in, and then kind of get the Somia team to help to do the interview with us, and then we come in and have some ideas, and then look at their facial expression, and during the conversation understand what's really working well. So if you see the left picture, it was a very rough paper mock-up of almost like a faucet. So our biggest bright idea at that time was this, there's a urinal, right? And then now you have this, right now in the market, there's this incy-pincy little stainless steel spout, like a vitagen stick that always gets stuck and it's always rusty. I'm like, you know what? Since it's going to have to dispense water, why don't we do it in a more gracious and proud way? And what is the reference? The reference was the faucets. You wash your hands with a faucet, right? So my big idea was like, hey, let's put a faucet on the urinal, and yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Me and my bright idea. So we kind of did some cardboard models quickly, trigger the Somia team and say, look, I have this good idea, this would be really cool. Shall we talk to people? And we had some very rough sketches. And during the discussion, they gave us a lot of feedback. For example, wow, that looks really big. When we do the extinguisher, we are very careful that the splashes cannot splash on me. I'm like, what do you mean? And it get me a lot of realization. For example, if the stray splashes hit the user, they have to do what I call a reset, like a wash again. So they have to clean everything again. And this actually pissed them off very much. So when we start, they are talking to us a few things, about how to keep clean, how to wash. And the thing that we're trying to share is that we didn't try to make it too beautiful. We took something very simple, put it out to the user, and then kind of engage early and observe. And I think the magic happens where the facilitation of Somia was very, very helpful because of the colloquial language and the way that was being handled. They kind of invited the users to kind of share their pain points in a very nuanced way. And I was trying to use the smartphone with Google Translate, trying to listen to the language. And it's all very funny, and I don't realize, and I basically depend a lot on the human behavior to see, like, something's right, something's not right. And through those, I think we learn a lot from all these low fidelity sketches. And the next page, of course, as we start doing, we did the more cooler renderings, and and this gets more resolution to the discussion, and then facilitated very, very expertly by the Somia team as well.
So yeah, during the research, Taiwoon is always with us in the room, even though he doesn't know Indonesian. So right now he must be the master of reading facial expression, because he can just seeing people and know, like, what are they feeling.
I only know one thing: siap. I was like, what the hell was siap? And it was like, okay, I got it. I'm like, oh, that, yeah. So as we are doing the user research, we were also trying very hard to validate ergonomically how things were like. So this was a contribution from my side, where we're trying to find the best ergonomics and angle. So on the left picture, you can see a fake wall, and you have this very simple urinal, and then you see this kind of turquoise nozzle where I was telling you about the faucets. So while this will not win a beauty award, what this actually does is that it helps to kind of do a prior testing to understand from an ergonomics perspective what really works. So the middle picture, you could see that there's something very bright, like a barrel shape that's piercing through the wall. So it's connected to the nozzle, and it basically helps to actually adjust the length and the protrusion from the urinal. Because we realized that when we are doing this istinja and washing, it's very linked to your body part. So the height, the length, the angle were very, very important. And we did this user testing internally first, so that we can kind of understand what really worked or not. So the blue tube were actually something that I call it a recirculating device, because this rig was not just done for internal testing, it was also done to help to showcase and update this to the design leaders or the management of Kohler. 3 years is a long time. I need to kind of show things or fake it till you make it, to make sure that we reassure 2 levels. The first, the top level, the management, and then second thing, so top level, because they can give me more money to run. And then second thing is also to understand that, what is going to be actually working or not. Yeah.
And actually from me, every time we did a test, when we consolidate all of the insight and the feedback from the users, and then we discuss with you, hey, is it actually the feedback? For me personally, I'm kind of like, okay, what will the Kohler design team will come up here with this insight? So every time, every phase of the project, what's the new concept? What's the solution that will be provided based on the insight that we from the last phase? For me, it's a really, really, really exciting because like you mentioned,
I'm a bit sad because I haven't seen the final product actually, because I'm not involved in the final research.
But the nice thing is that the whole, although we were client and customers kind of perspective, the way that we do is actually very collaborative. So we get insights and we make, and then from this prototype, we actually use this for the next phase. So after we thought about the nicest idea, I think we embark on the most complicated thing that we have in this whole project.
I think I want to add that it's important to point out that we in Somia is kind of grateful that actually Taiwoon and the Kohler team are actually on board with this user-centric approach, right? Because us in Somia, we believe in user-centered design approach. So it's kind of grateful that Taiwoon is on board with this approach, like starting with the paper prototype first, you know, starting from the simple form and then moving on until the to the higher fidelity. So we are not jumping into the like high fidelity prototype and then test, right? No, we did in iterative way. I guess in a way, this what makes our collaborative effort is so fruitful, because each of us, Somia and then Kohler team, learns with each other, right? Like we Somia learn about the insights of the design of the concepts, and then we give it to the Kohler team, and then Kohler team refine it. So it's an iterative process, and we keep learning throughout the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's really interesting. So like when we are asked how to do this research, we are asking netizens actually from social media. So like we propose that, like, and you trust us to do it. It's really interesting. Yeah.
I think it's really cool because I think with the new technology and all the communication, I think the world is an oyster. I think what we wanted to share is that it's not just a cool project. I hope that this kind of ways, collaborative ways, can actually help you do your future projects as well. I think sometimes we have to be very honest. We don't know what we don't know. Let's ask. Yeah. You know, be very open and say, let's ask. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, when the last 2 rounds of research, when Taiwoon, hey, I think we want to validate the latest design, like, with a working prototype. Then we were like, hey, how do we validate this one? Yeah, and we asked around, like, every usability testing that we know. Hey, can we install 10 urinals in your place with a running water facilities, and then we take it down and install another one? And every usability testing place said no. So we kind of, oh shit, then how could we do this then? Yeah, it's really challenging to set up the this Taiwoon. Yeah.
Right. So the thing is that we really asked around for all our contacts, all our lobangs, you know, and everything came out to a dead end. And then we are like, oh dear, this is the biggest problem. And why don't we go to the next page? So what do you do when there's no facilities? Well, there's Airbnb, isn't it? So we did the thing that we have to do. We rented a house for 6 months and made it work. When I say, okay, so let me try to explain when I say made it work, okay? We are product designers, we are UX, you know, and Somia does a lot of user design, a lot of digital design, and I do product design, and I do small products, you know, like toilets and stuff. But for this project to work, what we had to do was that we became full-time contractors. You know, so when you look at this picture, the left is actually the left is actually, yeah. So the left is actually the facade of the user testing room. It's basically an enclosed community, and the right is basically when we ran and we say thank you very much. No, we literally got contractors in together to design rooms so that we can actually conduct this user testing in a proper way. So when I say rooms, you'll be surprised, like, why do you need rooms? Well, it's a urinal, don't you think? So we need to be respectful, you know. We're not going to video them, are we? So the whole nuances about user testing becomes enhanced. Like, you know, how do you test whether this is good or this is no good? So imagine if you have one urinal in one room and the other. No, you have to get the customer to kind of test one, you remember your feeling, and test the other one. And we ask ourselves this: what would be the best approach to make them compare and feel best? Put them side by side, isn't it? So when we rent the room, we say, you know what? The ideal is to have them line up, A/B testing. We all know that, right? Usability, guys. You know, so let's do it. Let's do it. It's very easy to say. but we had to do it in a very real way. So remember just now I talked to you about the testing rig that we are doing for ergonomics. We actually applied the learnings of the fake wall, and without actually impacting the interior, we are able to actually line up a lot of these urinals side by side. So you want to see on the top left, there's this fake wall that's self-supporting, and then we have guys coming in to help us drill up stuff to hold the urinal. Again, this is a live testing. So what does it mean? It actually needs water in and water out. So we had to, the right side of the picture, you see this whole network of crazy link pipes, plumbings and all those. So if not just a simple water in, there's a complex connection of water that's required to release at certain time. And I'm actually not very into this, and I have to give kudos to Yao Hui, who is the middle guy, who helped me kind of orchestrate the whole connection and all of that. So the combination of the internal team to try to plug everything in is something I always remember. Somia team were also there. They were also freaking out because we were doing the tests in a week, and when we went there, we see everything in like a bomb site. You know, everything is not ready, and I was panicking. Everybody's panicking, and every day when we are there, we always face something very funny. Either there's lack of a fitting, there's no pipe, there's no something, and
the pump doesn't work, or suddenly the electricity went down. We need to charge the electric, and I remember like I think the day -1 or so.
Power failure.
We still went to the S hardware to buy some parts to make the prototypes working.
Right. So I became very famous in the Ace hardware store, and this is the left corner. You see a lot of accessories. I buy so many of this plumbing, and when the project finished, I had a very nice meeting with the account guys who were like, "What is this? What is this tube? What is this?" But all in a good spirit, because they after the clarification, they understood that in the spirit of this whole project, I think the entrepreneur spirit is the most strong, where there was no facilities around, and we just have to make it work. So make it work we did, but it was a lot of sweating. It wasn't in a sitting a nice, comfortable area. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you this. I really need to tell you this. I hate being in the heat, and there's no aircon, so we're all like sweating like, you know, crazy, trying to make it work. But everybody was very cool, very professional. You're like, you know what, things needs to be done. Let's do it. So I call it just do it, and then something to think about when we start doing research or product development. It doesn't normally occur in the studio. You know, if you really want to do something and do some testing, you kind of sweat it out. You know, and if there's nothing, you make your own.
I remember for this project, we bought like 6 wall fans and tables for the interview. And we actually, for this project, because people need to pee a lot to compare one urinal to the others, we give them many drinks. Like, this is with drinks. Like,
yes.
Drinks. So yeah, they will drink a lot and they have to pee.
Yeah.
And this is on they're only just talking about the technical preparation, but we also have the social preparation, because we have to bribe the security to not to allow us to do this, because the neighbor are complaining.
That was interesting, because when we were initially, when we start doing the security was very okay, and then slowly on, because of the influx of people coming for testing, and they were looking at me very funnily. So one of the rituals I do to try to smoothen the situation is that I normally buy the gentleman's cigarettes and say, you know, "Selamat pagi, Pak," and he's like totally cool, and that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I think the spirit is really there, because there's a lot of parties involved, like the engineers, even the installer that work to install the fake walls, all the piping and all stuff. And really kudos to them. Without them, the testing will not be done lah, because it's really thanks to them that all of them are set in place when we were doing the user testing.
Right. And I think we also asked them for their opinions. I think most of them were like bagus, right? I remember they were like, oh, they like it. They were asking, and we actually explained to them what we are doing, and they really liked it as well. So as we start doing this, I think also the success of this was that people became very on board to these ideas. So like I mentioned to you, I'm from Kohler. I'm the design manager for this space, but I had different resources coming to support me. So one of the key things that I think was important, and I think was very useful to pull people together, was that I requested for the engineers and the PM to come in. And when they come into the Indonesia test site, the first thing I do was to bring them to the most iconic mosque in Indonesia, the Mosque Istiqlal. It's the most famous mosque. And what we did was that I got the guide to bring the engineers together to understand the faith, to understand the architecture of the Istiqlal. So for example, on the left side, this picture, the gentleman is the engineer manager. His name is Yao Hui. And it's a picture of the shot of the main prayer hall. So as we were walking into this hall, it was very, very interesting. We are not Muslim, okay? So they were explaining the faith to us. And when we go through the main prayer site, it was all inspiring. It's like, oh, it's very tall. And while it's very big, it is also very calming. And the guide shared with us the faith about, prayers, why the prayer is important, and what ablution is important for the prayer. Because other than the physicality of the washing and how the Islam talks about cleanliness, there's also the other one, which is more about spiritual cleaning, that, before you go into a place of worship, you need to be spiritually ready to pray. And then from a design perspective, a normal walkway with tiles was interesting, because every place of worship when they pray were all pointed to the Qibla. And it's as we start talking about all these small nuances, it started to get the team understand that, it's not something like, you do something and you get on with it. You really need to understand the culture and the faith to do it right. So when we finished the whole tour, about an hour or so, and we had dinner, the engineer was telling me like, wow, I didn't know there were so many details and nuances, and I didn't know that this is actually very big. And you must understand that because they were not from Indonesia, like just now Uka and Dono was explaining, when you are in a place and you are continuously experiencing this, you become very jaded or blind to all this. And when they come from different spaces, their sensitivity are heightened. And through the whole exposure, immersion to the faith in this way, they started to really gain a better understanding and appreciation why we are doing this. And it was interesting because of the synergy where we are I call the outsiders. And then from Somia, we have the team who is actually embedded in Indonesia, coming together and saying, looking from different lenses and finding the best solution to make things work better.
Yeah. Taiwoon, before we move on, you need to explain about the outfit, Taiwoon.
Oh, yeah. So what's up with the outfit, right? So me not being smart or sensitive enough, I went to the mosque with Bermudas, and that's a big no-no. I didn't know that. So when I went
Bermudas,
in,
Taiwoon?
like shorts, I wore shorts and I was like, you got to see this, you got to be respectful to the faith. And the guy looked at me like, I think you need to follow me. We need to dress you up. Like, but why? And the guide explained to us is that it's not appropriate to wear shorts in the mosque. You need to be respectful. And that's why we had like a what do you call it? Rope, so that you cover the legs more. And that's why we look like that. And I thought that's pretty cool as well, because we these are things that we didn't know.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, the story, like how Taiwoon involved like the engineers and the PM from the Kohler side to get involved in this project, so we can gain more understanding on the project. from our side, the Somia, it's very interesting as well to have Taiwoon, who is willing to work side by us with us in a very hot room in this house to do all the testing, because yeah, when we work together with him side by side, yeah, we can if there is a tweak or anything we want to discuss, we can do it quickly. Maybe Uka or Dono can tell more how we did it.
Yeah, I really like the can-do attitude, like the passions that we all aim to the same direction with the same visions is really helpful. Like when we did the user testing, even throughout the journey, like from the not only time but from the quality team, really easy to reach. You know, like whenever that we want to discuss about this thing, right? And then we really go into the discussion and then see from different perspective, even from design, from business, from user perspective, and try to find the ideal win-win solutions. Then and for me, personally, again, it's not something that we found common in our projects. I'm really grateful that we could be able to work with you and the team, Taiwoon.
Cool.
Yeah, and by working together, yeah, we can tweak anything as fast as we could. Like many people complain that this urinal don't have water flow. What if this urinal have better water flow? Will this be the first choice of people? And so then, because we are working with the engineers and the PM, we can add the water flow. And because we work side by side with Taiwoon, yeah, if like I think the signage is not very understandable by everyone. So let's add a new sticker. And then because we are working side by side, you can like, yeah, I remember you create the sticker at night in the Photoshops, and we print it as soon as possible. Like, yeah, I think like that collaborative spirit is very good to do. Like, it's very interesting. So yeah, we did this not only on one round, but we do it in many rounds. So yeah, we start with the prototypes, the cardboard prototypes, and then the more higher fidelity prototypes until the final products.
Yeah, I think one thing that I learned from this project, because this is a really sensitive matter, right? We want to, like Taiwoon said, we want to get it right, not only functional, but we don't want to create another problem, right, by creating this project. So we take the projects really carefully. We tweak the design, and then make sure that everything's is okay. It's good to be used, and sometimes, you know, like Taiwoon from the design side, me Somia from the user side. Sometimes we have some strong discussion regarding what needs to be done, what shouldn't be done, right? And maybe you can go to the next slide, Nathan. Yeah, and there are some features that we initially maybe ideas from the design team, right? And then when we brought it back to we shown them to the users, the feedback is not always as you think, right, Taiwoon?
Right. You know, and Uka's trying to be very kind to me. So like I mentioned to you, ID has always trying to be smarty pants. You know, we get great ideas. You know, when you're washing your privates, wouldn't you want to try yours? You know, I'm like, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? Let's do it. You know, so me, you know, going all full out, like, yo, this is something so cool. You're gonna love it. You know, so we did some concepts like this. You know, so this picture was a dryer activation, and then you know, basically after you wash, you dry. And I thought that was the best thing since sliced bread, you know, and so confident, you know, me being so confident, I'm like, oh, you got to try this. And we passed it to Somia, and during the testing, it bombed. And I'm like, but why, you know? And during the discussion, there were a lot of religious and cultural nuances that I'm actually not aware, because yeah, it's something that it's not just a pure function, it's also a culture related, and these to them weren't considered as a big one. And our biggest finding from this was that customers wanted a very soft experience. They wanted to be in full control of this as well. So just now when Uka was talking about this big discussion, I deliberately make it very difficult for Uka because though I want him to be the champion of this, you know. And he was discussing with Nathan, like, you know, we should do this, we should do that. I'm like, so what should we do? And guys, it was at 10:30 at night. And we're going to do the next testing the next morning. And I hear this discussion. I'm like, so what should we do? And it made me very touched because they were like, we need to do this. We need to do this. I'm like, okay, but it's 10:30. What are you going to do? We have to go to find somewhere to print out something, you know, modify this, blah, 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 blah. And I was shocked because it was 10:30. Everybody was tired for the whole day. But these two crazy chaps are like, no, they are still like so pumped, like, you know, we got to make it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the one that Taiwoon said is on the next slide, Nathan, regarding, you know, regarding the spout, we want to like whether use a capacitive touch or using sensor, right? And from the design perspective, like I remember, like I think it should be sensor, right? Taiwoon, you said that because
so from a hygiene perspective, you know, if you talk about a faucets or washing faucets, like I was talking to you, the biggest trend is to be called touchless. Why touchless? Because when you wash your hands, you don't want to contaminate it with any faucets or anybody else. So naturally, from a sanitary space that I work in, the buzzword is touchless. But when Uka, Donos, Nathan were doing testing, the data was very different. And the data, like what Uka was saying, was they wanted touching. I'm like, this is very, very, very strange to me. And I was poking them constantly, like, why? And Uka were...
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is a lot of the participants pick touch, right? Because like you mentioned, they want to have control, right? It's a really small activities, but could have a huge impact. If, for example, they accidentally trigger the sensor, right? And then something splashed onto their clothes, then they couldn't do their play. They need to go home, change their clothes, and because it's renal is usually in public spaces, right? So that's why, it's when we show the data, I remember Taiwan push, but it's more hygienic, like we should do this. And then I remember we discussing with Nathan, you know what? Let's test this again. Maybe because of the icons, they not really know how to trigger it, and then let's change the icon lah. And then we test it again tomorrow. But then after we test it again, still we conclude at the very end, I think capacitive touch is to go because it's less to be accidentally triggered.
So this was actually raised during the design approval from Kohler internal, and I was asked directly head on by the VP, you know, you have to touch the faucet, you know, why don't you use the sensor? It's unhygienic, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's not. And through this actual testing, we were able to very, very confidently explain why. And the final result was because it's a religious connotation, the fear of having accidental spill is very, very high. So they wanted the full control. And the only way for full control right now is a very decisive touch that dispenses water that they want. So the customer's biggest one was this. They want full control. And by doing this full control, the experience level for this product was very high. And when we finally tested about 18 people said, yes, this was it. And I was very able to use data and the actual testing result to explain to our bosses and say, sir, we will run with the button. And as time goes on, when people really understand this and technology becomes better, we can do the sensor one later on. But for now, because it's a new product launch, let's do it well, do it safe. And the answer was a button. And no question asked because it is what it is. And they're like, got it. And we are, from those, we kind of roll on and we're probably getting the product by May in Indonesia. Yeah.
So yeah, during the testing, it was also good to mention that we also have to keep in mind of the respondents' comfort and respect them. So yeah, this is some things that we did to allow them to do the testing more comfortably. Maybe can be shared by Uka or Taiwoon.
Right. So as just now what Nathan said, mindfulness and mutual respect, it's a universal thing. But I think more importantly, because we are in talking about this faith-related product, it's important that we accord the respect to the user in every way. So it's about prayer, it's about creating a space for them, and small things like that matter. And when we did this, what I realized is that this gentleman is the religious leader of one of a very big Muslim organization. He actually, during part of the user study, pull me back, and in Bahasa shared with me something that I felt very, very happy about. And I think that's on the next page.
Yeah, it's on last page actually. So
is it?
Later.
Yeah. So the I think we'll share that later. But one of the things that we learned about this project is that we really don't know what we don't know. And sometimes when you look at this, the mountain of problems, it seems insurmountable. Because if you ask me 3 years ago, can we get something done? I'm like, I'm not sure. And then halfway there, it's like when you climb a mountain, you spend a day and a half climbing the mountain and think I'm reaching. And just when you thought you're reaching, you look up, there's another mountain. And many times I wanted to give up, but it was funny because, while we were working on this journey, I met a lot of friends from Team Somia as well. We give each other a lot of encouragement, and when there were screw ups, if you look carefully at some of the decks, you'll realize that as we say, iterate in steps, one of the things in between were a little bit of void. I'll confess now. We had a very big problem. Our models were stuck in a custom. I wanted to die, man, because I planned for a month, and we didn't have the models, and I was calling everybody I know, trying to have lunch with the custom officer, and I'm like, holy crap, I still can't settle, and I was like, this is it, man. This is how Taiwan become very famous in Kohler. And but we are laughing like, what, the show must go on, or like I told them, let's pole dance, and pole dance we did. We had a good time. Not really.
A lot of things happens as well, Taiwan. I remember like I think at the time Laris was conducting the research.
Yes.
And then when we do this, suddenly the roof, the ceiling collapse. And then, but the show must go on. Let's continue.
Yeah, we sweep the thing and then tape up everything. And then when the next respondent came in, we acted like nothing had happened. But we are like, let's not collapse on it again, or we'll be quite famous, But the thing I think we wanted to share again is that not sometimes, probably all the time in your development space, nothing will go smoothly. But I think we have to smile. Screw ups and failures are part of product development. If it's easy, it's not fun, isn't it? So let's enjoy the process. Find commonality. Don't give up.
Yeah. So yeah, if maybe some of you people who come here are from digital product development, like apps or things like that, and you think that digital product can be buggy, but how about real life? So it turns out real life is also very, very buggy. Like, how can the roof fall down? And like when Taiwan said that the product got stuck in the custom, it's not actually once but twice. It happened twice, and we have to create the prototype using wooden boards and stuff to make it work.
Even when the prototypes, even when the prototypes comes in past the Bea Cukai, and when we installed the prototypes, it didn't work. Sometimes one or two prototypes suddenly just decided stop working.
And Murphy will come at a time where you least expected it, but again, you know what? Life must go on. We just keep going. We wing it, we pole dance. It's okay. But I think ultimately we must understand why are we doing it, and then we just use the tools that we have to try to explain and to kind of run that forward. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Taiwoon, let's present the final product.
So after a long journey, I think what we finally did and was performed very well looked like this. So basically, it's a faucet of salt that is installed to a urinal, and we use the Stratuka urinal, which is a V-shaped like a urinal, because it tested best. And because of the form, we realized that the user would approach the urinal in a more closer manner. So on the left, you also realize is that this angle is actually specially tested, and the ergonomics is actually most appropriate for the user as well. So we did certain measurement. It's actually elevated and tilted about 30 degrees. And this is the most optimal angle. And the spout has a button that's very distinctive. So when you come in, not knowing the whole archetype about this, you could instantly realize that because of the spout is designed like a teardrop shape, you could connotate that, oh, something's different. And when you touch it, it will dispense a very nice, comfortable stream of water. And you can wash your privates. Not only that, we also incorporated a P cover where it provides a privacy, additional privacy to our customers. And this was also true observation that we see in the market. They have some very small plastic part, but we actually added a wing. So when you started to do this ritual, I think customers all value privacy. So we did this big skirting that skirts around, and you create a very nice private space for the user. Yeah, so that's beside the rendering, we tested it, and overwhelmingly, it really, really did very, very well. Yeah.
Yeah, let's quickly see the video on the semi-final product.
Oh, yeah. So what you do is to just approach after you pee, you can click, and it washes. And the good thing about this is also that it saves us water. You don't have to flush it all the time. And we can easily save, through this small action, more than 50% of the water savings. And the urinal by itself is already very water saving. So in fact, this is actually the best water saving feature in the market space as well. So just now, like we were mentioning, we, of course, one thing that we're very glad is that for this Istinja urinal, we got the IXDA award for disruption, but I'm really happy. And the most happy thing actually was this. Like I mentioned to you, where we were doing the test, the religious leader actually pulled me aside and talked to me in Bahasa. I think Uka was there, and he basically said this, this is the first time I felt very respected. And thank you, sir, doing so much for Muslim. I really wish you the best. I felt very, very touched, because that's why we do design at the first place, isn't it? So I hope this helps you understand that when we do something for the common good for the user, I think the user really understand, and they actually go out of their way to try to make things happen for them. So if you see the guy, the religious leader, he's getting on his age, but he was very, very sporting. I tekan him. I asked him a lot of questions. I asked him this and that. He's like, what? I'll submit. I'll do this. Very, very willing to, willingly, because he realized that what we're doing is to improve the Muslim ritual. And when he said this, I feel very happy. And I just wanted to share that when we focus really to make it better for our customers, it will be something really appreciated by them.
Yeah, so that concludes the end of the sharing sessions. Now let's see on the Q&A if there is questions that they ask.
I think, Nathan, we also would like to shout out to the Somia team who also involved in this project. So it's not only me, Uka, and Nathan who did this project.
Many people as well.
Yes, many people like Vivian also helped.
Hello.
I think Vivian is here. Hello, Vivian.
Hi, Vivian.
You can show your face if you want to. And there is Dea as well.
And there's Dea, yeah.
But I think she already
saw Dea
left.
on the.
And Laris, you started this journey with me, and you handed over halfway brilliantly because there wasn't a gap. Really thank you for making this work.
So yeah, maybe while the girls are here, So this is a very funny question, actually. How do you facilitate the conversation during the research, since it's a very sensitive topic to talk about? So even there was not all boys that was involved in this project, but the girls that we were mentioned also was involved in facilitating the.
Andrea was doing that. I remember I was piloting with her. She was so shy. Her face was so red, and the first time she was a bit shy, and then second time she got better. And after the first day of testing, I remember, I think Dono guided her very well. And Andrea came in the next day, being very, very chatty, like, I was talking to my boyfriend about this and that. And he was really shocked, like, how do you know so much about this? And we had a big laugh, like, oh, this is so important. And like, yeah. But we didn't answer your question anyway. So.
So maybe I'll give some context. So because we are not only testing for the urinal, but also for wudu, and it's more comfortable for the woman who do wudu to be interviewed by the ladies.
Right.
So we involve both ladies and men into this research.
Right.
And that's why they sometimes have to interview also the men for the using testing the urinal. So how we do this? Actually, we usually work in a room with the users, and maybe Dono and Uka or Taiwoon can tell how's the process of the testing? How do we facilitate the interview?
Yeah, I guess at the first time when we do the paper and the cardboard prototype, we ask the users like, okay, sir, just let's imagine that you are going to conduct a pee in here. So yeah, of course they are not exactly opening their pants, but imagining and then trying to get their feedbacks. But then later on, when we already have the higher fidelity one, the working prototypes, we actually ask them to actually pee in the urinals, of course in the closed rooms, yeah. Then after they done with their thing, we come in and then we ask them about the experience.
Yeah, and I want to add to Dono. Interestingly, even though it's a sensitive topic, right? But when we ask men around it, a lot of our participants actually have no reservation at all. They just talk and share their experience, because I think it's because it's been around for so long. They acknowledge the issues, and then when they are involved in this kind of project, they are really willing to share, because they know they experience it by themselves. And actually, me and Nathan initially, hey, how we are a bit worried. What if they don't want to talk about it, right? But then when we try in the working prototype, actually they have no reservation at all. They just talk and just give their feedbacks.
It was quite funny because I think Somia actually did the whole works, right? When you did the interview, you had the recorders, the voice recorder, you got the cameras, you got the video cameras, and you got me being the crazy one, like, what's up? Everybody was like, once you finish, the door open. I think Dono was trying to calibrate that thing, like, don't scare the participants, like, let me go in first, warm them up, and then you slowly creep in. But I can't help it, so we were like, trying to understand. But I think what thing we realized is also that I think that the user really realized that we are trying to do something good for them. So when we start talking and when talking on about this and that, they became very open to share something I call very, very personal. For example, like, what do you think is the water flow? What is the better water flow? So I thought it would be a quite awkward discussion, but I think everybody was quite natural. They were feeling, and even when there was ladies, I didn't see there was a bit of tension, maybe initially, but then it became quite smooth. Yeah.
Okay, now let's move on to the next question. So now Kohler have Muslim-friendly urinary system. How do you convince the client and customer to choose this new design compared to the existing design of the market?
Well, I would say this, the whole competition, the whole landscape is actually very competitive. everybody will want to have the best experience ever. So when you go to Indonesia right now, you really realize that if you go to Jakarta especially, there's a lot of very nice malls happening. And part of the mall's attraction of when people are trying to go to the malls is right now they will ask or try to find out if in the mall itself there's actually musalla. So musalla is actually a prayer room that's actually dedicated for praying for Muslim. And like just now we mentioned, for Muslim, they need to pray 5 times a day. So the chances of going to mall and having to pray is actually quite high. So if I would say this to the developer and the companies that want to do, they're considering this is that experience matters. And if we can provide a very gracious approach like this, to our customers, to your customers, I think it actually shows the level of graciousness in your development. So again, small things matters. And if you want to be the leading edge of your space, I think it's a good time to try it out. I think don't take my word for it. We'll let you know when the first movers are. Check it out. Try it out yourself. I think when you try the product, you'll be really, really convinced how this actually is a game changer. And I think from a Muslim ablution, there's a lot of things to be done. This is a big step forward. We hope that when you see this, we can actually work with you to see how we can actually take the whole conversation further. Sales pitch done.
Next questions related to the sales pitch as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
We have conducted so many qualitative studies and explorative feedback.
Yes.
How do you consider the findings, reporting methods, and presentations to the stakeholder? I think this is a very interesting question because we actually fight for this one. We have lots of argument.
Right. So the typical products we do is bread and butter, the usual toilets and all those. Like I mentioned to you, I'm from Kohler Asia Pacific. I take care of the Asia Pacific and try to understand insights what matters to this part of the world. And from this, we tell stories that matters. And one of the things, like when we started, I hope you still remember, there was one deck that I talked about. By 2050, every 3 person, 1 person is a Muslim. That speaks volumes because there's a big user base for this use case. So when we try to communicate these needs or this project toward the leaders, I think it's important to talk in a language that matters to them. So rather than just having nice design, blah, 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 one of the ways is, for example, market sizing. 3 person, 1 person is going to be a Muslim. What are you going to do about that? This is something that will actually resonate. And I think when we shared this, Mr. Kohler were very keen and supportive and say, yes, this is what Kohler needs to do. We need to do it well because it matters. Because this problem is big enough to matter, we need to do it. And when we start telling the story, I think first of all, because this is, I call a very taboo subject, you need to be humble enough to share this. So when we share this, you can't become a joker. You try to show this in a very funny way. You'll get laughed at. But if you are willing to take the risk and show this and articulate the numbers in a more simple way, every 3 person, 1 person is a Muslim. And in my part of the world, Asia Pacific, 280 million potential customers. If you take about 10%, what are the numbers? Numbers matters. And when we articulate that to the business leader, it's a no-brainer. So when we pitch this, they were like, that's very cool. How are you going to do it? I told them, I don't know. I really don't know. But we will find out. We will find the people who are able to help us. And that's where I assemble the A-team. We found people who are good at what they do. For example, Somia in user research. On the ground, really, really asking the right questions, tough questions, and then telling us that back. From design perspective, we brainstorm with the best design teams in Singapore. And okay, trigger, create the ideas, let them kind of show the ideas, and we collaborated very strongly with the users. And I think the story sold itself because when we show the story to our user, there's a lot of details, like I was mentioning to Somia. We need to compile it so that we have answer first, And basically, when we do the testing, we tell them, you know what, one-liner, what works. You know, customer like this, why? And if they were not sure, I will show the iPad of all the videos and say, this is how it looks, this is why, this is why, this is why. And when you make it easy for the leadership to understand, they buy it. So we're very glad that we work on this project, because I think it's a very, very under-considered space in the world. And the most crazy thing is that it's such a big part of the world, and we don't really talk about it that much. And we hope that by sharing this story with you, with all of you, you are able to think about this and say, you know what are the things we can do better? What are the things we can do better for this group of people? You know, and if you're generous enough, send me a message, tell me, you know, how Kohler can do better. We want to take this further as well.
Okay, maybe that's from Taiwan side. So maybe from our side, how do Dono and Uka convey these messages and research?
Yeah, I think one of the important keys when we do the user research, that we always record, right? Either with the voice recorder or the handycam video camera. So the idea is us observing their behaviors, right? So when we show them concepts, we get to know the immediate feedback from them, and then we record that. Then later on, we can use that snippets, that recording into the reports, and then saying to the stakeholders, hey, this is what we found from the users. This is what the users are saying. It's not entirely us, our ego saying that, oh, this is the best design and this is what we think.
Yeah.
But this is what the users, your customers really want, and this is what they think. So I guess it's always a powerful method in a way, because we convey the insights through the users, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's, if I might add one, different phases has different objectives, right? Like when we project started, it's still an exploratory mode, right? We're trying to find what are the angles, what are the opportunities, but at the very end of the projects, when it is more like really tangible design feedback on the prototypes, then the objectives becomes really a design directions, more like design directions, like Taiwoon mentioned, right? So we have several options and then we show it to the customers. Then what are the feedbacks and what are the recommendations? And when we say recommendation, it's not like a really big insight, but really practical design directions that could help the team to move forward. So I think it's important to acknowledge on which stage are the projects, and then what kind of deliverables or what kind of inputs that the projects needs.
Right.
So all right, that's the last question for this discussions, because we already passed 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Wow,
yeah, 30
that's
minutes.
a long time. I'm so sorry to take up the extension.
It's okay. Yeah, it's very interesting sharing. So yeah, even me as the moderator and actually who share a bit, keeping get new insight from from you Taiwoon. So yeah, thank you everyone who have visited this meeting. For more stories, tips, and other events, please visit our social media pages. So we regularly post like design tips, research tips, and we also do other often create this kind of talk. So you can join us by visiting us.